Hi. All right. I am excited for this live. I'm ready for it. Day 206 of my 365 days live. And there's something like powerful I want to talk to you about in regards to money. So all summer, we dove into all sorts of topics with money and my stories, receiving money, spending money, fears in money. We went deep. We went deep on so many levels. I shared a lot of stuff in my stories. I went on live and I spoke about like different topics around money. And the reason for me that why money is just so important is because it is in our everyday lives, because it is intertwined in everything. And even if money down the road disappears, then there'll be something else that turns into as a way, whether it's bartering or Bitcoin or whatnot. And so right now, in this day and age where we are living, in this lifetime, money is what we use to get by in life. Money is what we use to pay for our bills, to purchase things that we desire in our house. It is in our day-to-day all the time. And thing is, for some reason, somewhere along the road, I don't know in which century or in which decade this started, but somewhere along the lines, there's been a disconnect in the sense that we are viewing money as something stressful, something like anxiety, as something negative, as something like, not a positive way. Now, it may not be in every theme of your life, right? It could be like that, you look at debt as a bad thing, but then when you're like spending money for something you love, you're like, this is amazing. Or it could be like getting stressed when gas prices or food prices go up. But then, when you are receiving money for your business, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And so that is normal. That is normal for you to have different feelings and different associations with money in different ways. Because it depends on your experience, it depends on your past, what you grew up with. It depends on also your human design charts and like your birth charts, and there's so many elements to it. And so my goal around money, like I've had many different views throughout my life, and it's changed and evolved over time. I remember back in my early 20s, I was like, oh no, like I just want enough money to like pay for my bills, and that's good. I don't need anything more than that. And I think part of me was like the narrative of that old guilt of like, oh, if you're rich, like, you'll be greedy and like you shouldn't be asking for more money and whatnot. And I think like there was a little bit of that. And so I didn't want to come off as greedy. I didn't want to, seem like, taking money away from like other people that need it more than I do. And so that was a narrative I had. And I had to work through that. And then I got to a place where I was like, no, I'm going to decide what kind of life I would love to live. I'm going to decide the relationship I'm going to have with money. And yes, there are people in this world that aren't making money, that are, in a low point. But they also have a choice in their life too. Even when it feels like it's not, everybody always has a choice, and I can't dictate my life based on their life. And so that is kind of how I rewire that. Now, obviously, I do want to be there for people, and I do want to guide people. And so the way I see in my way of giving back is through volunteering, donations, offering free things on my business, doing all that. And to me, that is the way that I'm like, okay, like if you're in a place that you can't, you're in a money situation, like, and me volunteering at the food bank and being there for you so that you can get free food, that is, to me, that fills me up. And so that is how I shifted the narrative. But I took the power back to myself and I said, what kind of relationship would I desire to have with money? Because this is something that's every day, and focusing on the energy of stress and anxiety and negativity around money is a waste of energy for me. I don't want to focus on that. Are there times where, yes, something's going to come up, it's going to trigger me, and I'll maybe spiral? Yeah, that it happens. It happens. There is duality, there are triggers. But what do I do with that and how I navigate it? Instead of sitting in it and letting it consume me, I shift it. I shift it, and I shift what I'm learning from it, or what is it trying to show me? What are emotions trying to show me? Where is this coming from? I try to heal it so that when it happens again, I'm not as triggered. Maybe I'm triggered a little bit less, or maybe I know how to navigate it a little bit differently than the first time around. And so that going down that avenue of shifting my relationship with money has brought this sense of freedom and also this love towards money. And it's almost like I feel like the shackles that were attached to this to money and this negativity have been broken. And navigating what I've navigated in the past while, especially this winter when I lost my housing, but I was also broke as fuck. But the way I looked at it, I didn't feel like it was the end of the world. The way I navigated through it, I knew it was temporary. I knew that I was going to be fine because I've decided that I was going to look at money differently and manifestations differently. And so, yeah, I didn't have much money, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get housing when I don't have, security deposit and first month's rent to pay? And so then I was like, well, I am the creator of my own reality, so why don't I manifest something that has free rent? Case in point, where I'm living, I don't pay rent. And being able to get to that place of navigating through money and building that relationship that I want to build with money, I was able to navigate that time in my life where things hit that rock bottom in a different way, instead of feeling anxious, stressed, and all these negative feelings towards it. And by me doing that, I was able to bring in the manifestations that I desired, aka free rent. And I think that is what is important. We all, a lot of us, okay, I don't want to make a big assumption, but a lot of us, I'm assuming, want to make money or want to feel less stress around money. Or when the gas prices go up, we don't want to be we want to be okay, whatever. Right? I assume that because I assume we all want to have that positive relationship with it. It feels much better being excited and happy and feel good about money than feeling shit. And so, and if you are someone who wants to bring more in, you got to work on the foundations. You got to work on the bottom of it. Because if your foundations have cracks, then every time there'll be a huge shift in your life around money, anytime you either miss a bill or the government emails you and it's you owe us 10 grand, or something happens with your car and the mechanic is well, it's going to cost this amount, and you're shit, I didn't budget for this, I didn't see this coming. Every time those moments happen, it's just you freak the fuck out, which is normal. But what if you can shift that? What if you can honor the freak out, but then also shift it and look at it in a different light, instead of that aspect of lack of. And so when you have those cracks in the foundations, that's when those things fall apart. But if you got a solid foundation, then you see things in a different light. You navigate it through differently. And to create that foundation, to create that relationship, there are so many elements to it. You got to look at, every aspect of money. Like we went through this whole summer when I shared with you everything in my stories, like, receiving money. How do you feel when someone buys you a gift? How do you feel when someone pays for your services? Or if you have a 9 to 5, how does it feel, the salary that you are making? Do you see this as like something being grateful and gratitude, or do you always feel like it's not enough, or do you feel guilty for receiving it? And then we look at spending, and it's like, how do you feel when you spend a night out? How do you feel when you spend on your bills? How do you feel when prices go up? And it's all intertwined. In energetics, this aspect of money is all intertwined. And so to build that foundation, you need to look at all those elements and look at also your past. Look at what stories around money was it when you were growing up? I remember growing up, and, it was just like every time we got mail, which we used to get more mail than we do now, it was like always like, oh, it's bills. Like it was such a like weight on my parents' shoulders of like, oh, like, we're just getting bills in the mail. Or, like my parents saying, well, money doesn't grow on trees. And so those were examples of like things that were in my reality as a kid, that seeing money as a negative thing, seeing money as like something that, is not fun. And so looking at your past, looking at, what money stories you grew up with, but also what money stories surround you right now. Like, where like what people around you, what kind of money stories they have, and what are you taking in? And so that is to build that foundation. And with this money program that I'm doing, the beta version, is to create the solid foundation with the relationship of money, and to look at what kind of relationship you desire to have. But also, my goal is that I want to make it specific for you. The reason why I want to make it specific for you is because, well, in human design, 70% of the population have like an undefined or open head. And meaning that if you look at your human design chart, it's the top triangle is white. And so, not in alignment, you are thinking about thoughts that are not your own. And so when it comes to inner work, like whether it's inner child healing old wounds, or healing any relationship with money, is that sometimes you'll be focusing on healing something that is not yours to begin with. And so the idea of this money program is that I want to kind of like take away those things that don't belong to you and really hone in and focus on healing and building the relationship with money based on you and who you are, not all the noise that's in the outside world. And so I am going to use your human design chart. I am going to use your birth chart. I am going to dive there, and we are going to look into it. We are going to go deep, and I'm going to be asking you questions, and we're just going to build that foundation, because that foundation is so important. So important, and we're going to make it rock solid. And this isn't a money program to be like how to make quick money. This isn't something that I'm there and I'm like promising you, $1 million or anything. It's not that. It's to build that solid relationship. And so that's why I'm excited for this program. And I think that it is so important to build that. Okay, someone's knocking on my door and I can't answer. Oh my God, sometimes life is great. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up because somebody's outside trying to knock on my door. So if this money program is something that you are desiring, if going into like building that foundation and like really working on your relationship with money is something you desire to shift, if that is where you are at and you're feeling this hell yes, like I'm in, send me a message and I'll send you all the details. We are starting second week of September, so it is coming up. So let me know and I am going to get back to you. Like, well, I'm going to get off because people are knocking. Okay. I'll speak to y'all soon. Thanks, Courtney.